All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we talk all things East Rutherford and look ahead to Pittsburgh following another crazy round of action in the 2025 AMA Supercross season. Firstly, thank you everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their incredible support, as without them, none would be possible. All right, for this episode, I'm joined again by the great man, Whiskey Throttle Editor at Large, Jeff Beaver. Fresh from East Rutherford, filming, crushing it as usual. So, how's life? And thanks for joining us.
Life is good. I have not been home since the beginning of the March, and I got home yesterday. I'm dialed. Tired, but I'm dialed. But it was fun and to go to New York, and that's how much of a moto nut I am. Is I've been gone for 5 weeks, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going straight to New York after this job, so I can go film that Supercross and get that one in, and dude, that round was awesome, dude. Unfortunate what happened to Jerry Robin, but
Mm.
that track was awesome. Just for a filming standpoint, the place was crazy. The whoops, that second to the last whoop on the first set of whoops, where everybody was getting buck wild going into the bull turn. I went and stood in a rut after the race that was up to my knee, and I'm 6'1". I mean, I've never seen ruts like that in a whoop section. It was insane. Like Cooper Webb was walking around with his team going like, what the frick is going on here? It was a gnarly round, dude. And it was also a trip. It was 80 degrees, like the week, couple days leading up, we thought it was going to be rain, and it
Mm.
ended up being 80. So nobody was really prepared for that. AP looked like he was going to die of heat stroke after the main. And, but he always kind of looks like that. But, he's like, oh man, I didn't know I was riding outdoors. Yeah, it was just a rad weekend. Life's been good.
Yeah, mate, crushed the content. It was really interesting, obviously, for filming. Awesome track. There was so many cool sections and locations you said you could film for, but the riders found it really challenging. Not much room for error. Obviously, two whoop sections. That's gnarly. A lot of those peaky sections where like the margins were slim between, just clipping things, casing things, clearing things. So you saw it firsthand, mate. Made for entertainment, but real test for the riders as well, for sure, wasn't it, mate? And I guess we'll see what Pittsburgh brings. It looks like there's some weather, but be interested to see the contrast and the rider opinions for this weekend too.
Yeah, it definitely was very peaky. And dude, that single on the table after the second whoop section was huge. It didn't look like it on TV. When I first walked up to it, I was like, holy crap, dude. I mean, that was full commitment to get up on top of that thing and step off of it. And Chase was the only one really doing it very well, I think. And yeah, it was kind of mind blowing. And the other thing you couldn't see on TV, but that track had marbles all over it, dude. There was little round rocks everywhere, and I was like, man, I'm surprised nobody washed the front end on anything out there, really.
Yeah,
But
man, it was
but
crazy.
the
And obviously, yeah, I was going to say your videos, just listened to Pulp earlier. You had Blair and Dino chatting about that awesome video you got of him. And Phil Nicoletti also mentioned the Cullen Park one you got. So it's cool that the content's spreading, mate. But yeah, you're doing a great job. And it's cool that you get a nice variety of riders too, like not just the heavy hitting factory guys. You get some cool privateers, other 250 guys. It's a good selection of dudes, Simonson, for example. So those dudes really appreciate the coverage too, eh?
Yeah, that Devin Simonson guy, I think he was the biggest breath of fresh air in a couple of weeks that I saw. You gotta say Foxborough was a big breath of fresh air with Linville and Collin Park. But since then, it's kind of just been business as usual. And to see him get up there and do that well, he's going to be a badass dude. I know Blair likes him a lot and thinks a lot of him. And if DB thinks you're going to do something, his track record of kind of calling where guys are going to land is pretty. He's got a pretty good track record of picking talent and having an eye for what guys are going to come up. And Simonson, I saw him last year at Ironman, and he was ripping. I'm like, who the hell is this dude? I called Jet. I'm like, hey, who is this cat? Is he cool? Jet Reynolds. And he goes, oh yeah, that dude's legit, dude. That's my boy, and just super cool kid. Looks like Jeff Emig in the '90s with his big fro and shit. he's cool. And so to see him get out there and get some was cool. I seen him. I'll go, hey man, I got some bitchin' video of you. In fact, when we get off the phone, I'm gonna drop an edit of that first heat race, and I threw him in there with RJ and Chance because he did so well. He finished third, but he's like, oh yeah, just super cool kid, dude. So pumped on life. So if you guys get a chance, go give him a follow on social media. I think he's gonna blow up, and I think he will really be kind of a dark horse this summer in the outdoor nationals. I think, being on club and with the people that are club now, I think that kid's going to skyrocket, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does it this summer. But
Yeah, he's a
yeah,
really
it will
talented rider.
definitely. Yeah. So Filthy Phil said something nice about a video I made. I'm gonna have to send him a love
Yeah, the
letter. I'll
Cullen
send him a
Park one.
from what a couple weeks ago from Boston or whatever.
Yeah, I believe I'll double check, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it had to do with Cullen Park from somewhere.
Uh, Yeah, shit. Yeah, I didn't listen to the whole thing. I got a couple of screenshots of that. And, whiskey throttle don't do me dirty. Oh shit! I messaged Dino this morning. I'm all sorry, bro. I was all, but you looked fly. And he was laughing. I showed him the video when he after the main. Him and Cam were sitting on the line, and I go, so I went up and interviewed him, and I go, hey, dude, you got to see this video. And he's like, oh, dude, I'm in last. I'm like almost last place. I go, yeah, but it looks so good. But he didn't say nothing about the main event start where he was like third in that video. I kind of shot the same
Mm.
image. He was third. He didn't give me no love on that one. No, just the part where I blew him out and the rock went down the start straight faster than Nino. That was sick. That rock that just comes flying out of nowhere. I'm like, God, I'm glad I wasn't standing there. By the way, I kind of got in a little bit of trouble for that shot. I guess I was a little too close for comfort for people. So you probably won't see any more shots like that out of old Jeffrey. But I was in the green area, just for anybody who might hear that. But I guess that was one of those ones where yeah, let's not do that anymore. And I said, okay, I'm not going to argue it. They're fair, I'm fair, but it was a 6 shot one. I kind of saw some guys over the film and I go, oh, I'm gonna go get in on that, dude. I didn't know we could get over there. And I looked at the map and I'm like, yeah, we can, cool. And I saw that shot, and when I looked at the video, it looks like I'm way closer than I was, but I had it on my iPhone rig, which sits off to the left of my main camera, and then I had my camera kind of off to the left of my body, and then I had it zoomed in on 2x, so it really looked like I was on there. And when after they went by, I immediately hit replay on that, and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty good, dude. I'm gonna have fun with that one. That was a 6 shot, dude. And the best part was the guy in front of me, who was ducked down, he dives off to the right about halfway down, and I was like, you pussy. you know but nah, he's actually a really cool dude. But I was just laughing because he was like, oh yeah, I'm in here, I'm gonna stay down low. I'm like, okay, cool. He dove out halfway down the start. I'm like, you puss. But no, it was a great round, a lot of good stuff. Gotta give a shout out to Jerry Robin, man. That's the shitty thing about racing, right? It sucked.
Definitely like the worst fear of all races, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there before. I've broke my not on a bike, I didn't do it, but I shattered my spine and my legs went numb, and I luckily my legs were going in and out from the swelling, and luckily mine came back. But I literally know what that feels like, but I can't imagine with having to deal with it not getting going right, and sometimes I don't think about how grateful I should be for that shit that I can get up and walk to the fridge, and yeah, so heart goes out to him. We road if anybody looks at this, go to Road to Recovery's page. His link is live right now, and if you're in America and you're watching this, the Sunday after Paula, we're doing the 5th annual Whiskey Throttle Ryder Cup, which is a Road to Recovery golf tournament, and a portion of that's going to go directly to Jerry. They're going to send that directly to Jerry. 23 Media is doing his own little thing where if you buy a privateer sweatshirt, he's donating 100% of those sweatshirt sales. So everybody's kind of chipping in and doing their thing. But yeah, if you got $5, like old Willie Nelson when he needed to pay his taxes, everybody in America sent him $1, he'd been fine, right? So if everybody can send in a couple bucks, it'll help him a lot, man. Because that's no joke. I mean, you think about it. I think he's Southern California based, and he's out in New York City, and now he's got to figure out a way to get home, and his wife's not working. So that was a bummer. I remember I wasn't over on that side of the track. I was over by the triple, and I was over by the main triple, and he was on that triple coming out of the bull turn from the step on, step off after the whoops. And I was like, man, what happened? And he said, oh, Jerry Robin went down. I went, oh, that sucks. And then it kind of was prolonged. And like, usually you'll couple minutes, and you hear the crowd kind of roar, and the guy got up, or they're hauling him off, and the guy's like, no, it wasn't like that. It was kind of somber for a minute. I'm like, man, this isn't good. And so um, I went up into the safety hold for the next part of the session, and one of the stadium security guy goes, had no idea what motocross was, and he goes, is that guy going to be okay? And I go, I don't know what happened. And he said, yeah, it was right there. And so the guy was looking right over where Jerry was, and he tells me, he says, yeah, he was laying there and he was moving his arms around and, like kind of talking to everybody. And he goes, when they put him on the board, they had to lift his legs up and his legs were limp. And I was just like, oh no. And he goes, do you think it'd be okay? And I go, I don't know, man. But when that guy told me that, I was like, oh, my heart just kind of sank, and I was like, that's not good. And so when I went into the photo den, you've got every media company in there, Vital, all of them are in there. And Michael Lindsay, you were saying, I guess him and Jerry are pretty tight. So I kind of said to some guys, hey, did anybody hear anything? This is what this security guard told me. And Michael said he went up to the buggy and asked Jerry, man, are you good? And Jerry said, I can't feel anything, and Michael is Michael, but I'd take him that's exactly what was said, that just kind of put a damper on the whole day, like nobody said anything to the riders. I think everybody kind of knew, but it was just something you just didn't want to talk about. But man, when you just think of a life-changing event like that, that's a bummer, man.
Yeah, well said, mate. It's so brutal. It's such a tragedy, and we definitely wish him all the best for his recovery. And like you said, mate, there's some really cool people doing some stuff like yourself to try and help him out. So yeah, head to the road to recovery and yeah, help him out if you can, because yeah, he's obviously had that injury and he's lost his ability to do what he loves as well. So work a whole lifetime to be that awesome at one thing, and then it's taken away like that. It's just tragic, isn't it?
Yeah, and they said there's a little bit of hope for him in his own post. I guess there's some shards in there that they couldn't get out. So I don't know what that means, but if he can get some feeling back and just be able to walk, like look at Button, what happened to Button years ago when he broke his neck. You see Jimmy today, he still kind of has a little bit of difficulty walking, but I guarantee he wakes up every day grateful as shit that he still has a little difficulty walking, and hopefully Jerry can get in that kind of position to where he can just be self-sufficient, drive around, go play around a golf or something, pick up his kids, just I really hope he gets back to that level.
Absolutely, mate. That's for sure. And yeah, must be pretty hard for the racers to go out and race after seeing that happen. They're like a lot of them are good friends with him, so just brutal, mate. But I wanted to also touch on Devon Simonson. Obviously, he raced in MX2 World Championship a couple of years ago. He got a little opportunity there, so to see him, battling a lot of injuries in the past too, and to have a really good ride on club, it's so cool to see him make the most of that opportunity. He obviously had a nasty injury earlier in this year too, mate. So hopefully, like you see with guys like Seth, if they can get the continuity, get the laps in, just get it all dialed, they can create some really good results for themselves, mate. So, like you said, good point. Outdoors could be very interesting for him, and also, like you said, Masterpool as well. Once he gets fit again, there'll be some heavy hitters out there.
Yeah, I was talking to Ping about this before you and I got on the pod, and you know, me personally, I think Deegan's going to go out there and just smash. I think Deegan is a better outdoor rider than a Supercross rider. I mean, he's kind of set unless he has a major disaster to win the title, and he's going to get it. But the Supercross hasn't come to him like the Outdoor Nationals has, right? And I cannot wait to see him hit that big step up at Paula in a couple of weeks. Just he's gonna go ape shit when he gets outdoors, dude. That's just wide open, flapping, and tape shirt untucked, flapping in the wind. Little Jason Anderson meets Eli Tomac shredder. I think he's gonna tear shit up, and so we're kind of like, who do you think really's got something for him outdoors? And, Ping was like, Hammaker's fast, and so we could see Hammaker, definitely Ty has proven himself on that PC bike outdoors. Uh, Definitely Chance Hymas, dude. Chance was so fast in New York, dude. It's like that Deegan Ghost Ride tribute he did, and then wrecking, he went over the bars, and I talked to his dad. I guess he just kind of stretches his groin a little bit. He fine, but just kind of enough to say, yeah, I've had enough for today after the ghost ride and nut check. That was enough for him. But that guy, his speed's ridiculous. You got to put Shimoda in there. Shimoda's great outdoors, but um, so I think Simonson has the speed. Like I've just seen him on the bike outdoors, and I was like, "Whoa, that kid's on another kind of trajectory than the rest of these guys. Where did he come from? Who is he? And I think he could start to get up in the mix with those guys real quick. And that club bike ain't no joke. That thing, they have got that thing dialed. And with Blair there, and letting everybody else do their thing and focus on the riders, I think club is just elevated their game big time by bringing Daniel in, and so everybody else is going to level up with the team, and I can't wait to see what Shock does. But like I said, I think you're going to have Masterpool be right up there with, I think it'll be like Deegan, and then right there nipping at his heels is going to be Masterpool and Hymus and Seth. I think that's kind of in those three, and then Joe, whenever he gets pissed off and figures out how to get going, then he'll level up and win a couple races. But I think those guys are going to be badasses, but I think it's going to be the Deegan show.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. And like you said, a lot of those guys, like Chance is a weapon on outdoors. Cole Davies, how does that progression go like it's gone in Supercross? Does he have a massive uptick? Might not be as electric as he was indoors, but, like he could easily just, have a blast out season as well. And then you got Marchbanks, you said Shimoda. Max Anstey, once he's recovered, amazing outdoor rider. Levi Kitchen, Tom Vial, like the 250 class is box office, and that's for sure, mate. And I guess you can touch on that, but also 250 East Supercross, who you got, mate? Seth is sort of carrying that momentum. He's got everything dialed. He's completely vindicated for going to the dog pound, and he's made massive improvements with Burner and Dazzy Lawrence and that crew, and the starts are dialed, and he's got this little nice home swing of rounds, hasn't he, mate? Like he's really taken the most of that, isn't he, mate? So I guess
Oh yeah.
finding that consistency and top form. RJ struggling a bit with that wrist. You don't think Vial's probably got that winning capability. The consistency is usually always there, but it sort of eluded him in a couple of rounds before this one. But you can't see him getting the win to claw the points back. So it's going to be fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, to touch on what you said about Davies, Davies might be the one who makes everybody look like a dumbass and just come kick the shit out of everybody. But he's got to ride tracks that he's never learned. It's not like Supercross where these tracks are their own animal. They have their own personalities, and he's got to learn those in the program. Even though he's done some of the combine stuff, but I just don't think he'll be there. But I'm kind of saying the same thing that a lot of other people in the media industry are saying, but I also am smart enough to know that Cole can make us look really stupid really quick. So definitely like the kid, and I don't put anything past him. Uh, Kitchen, I don't know. Depends on where his head's at. I think he's one of those guys. His head's got to be in the right place to win. So who knows where he's at? That big get off at Daytona, did that affect his career? To me, I think, I don't know the kid. I've talked to him a handful of times, and he's always been real nice to me. He's a great guy. I hope everything works out for him. But I just think, just from what I see, on the outside looking in, I think he's kind of one of those guys who all his chips have got to fall in line for him to do it. To do it and win. It's got to just be like a perfect storm for him. And whereas these other guys just make lemonade out of lemons, right? And just get it done. But as far as the East, yeah, Seth and RJ are right there. RJ's the toughest son of a bitch in moto, hands down. And I don't think you can put anything past him. Um, with it coming into a mutter, who knows? Hopefully RJ doesn't do a repeat of Foxborough on the start, especially with Seth, Could you imagine that? Vial's just going by, do, huh, sucks for you, and just cruises off to a win. But it's up in the air. I like both of them a lot, and I think it would be so rad to see Rick win both coasts back to back, and then ride off into the 450s, and give everybody the two finger salute as he rides off into the sunset about him sandbagging the 250 class. He rightfully could tell everybody to eat shit on that one. And then at the same time, I want to see Seth with that title, dude, because that's my boy. And so either way, I'll be happy for either one who wins, and this is Rick's last chance. Seth's got another one if he doesn't. So there's always that. Vial, I'm beginning to start thinking that he might be the crafty, smart Frenchman that he is. Because if you look at him, Prado came over, he wrecked and got hurt, and he's not winning races, but he's also, I think he's smart enough to go, it's not worth it to die. you
Mm.
know, it'd be cool to be champ again, but I think he wants to get to the outdoor nationals and do his thing. I think that guy is quiet and smart and calculated. So if he wins it, cool. If he doesn't, and also if he doesn't win the title, he gets another year in the 250s.
So it
You
works
know,
out well, doesn't it?
well, where do you go for 450s? There's no real place for him in the 450s right now. So does he honestly just, could it be, this is kind of far fetched, 10-4 hat shit, but do you think he's laying up a little bit?
Yeah,
Get
I don't
another
know. It'd
year
be
on?
interesting. You'd think would they move him up and then just run Juju on the 250s?
I don't know, but I don't. They've already got, if Chase stays, they've already, that were they going to run 3 450s? So who knows? But I think he's one smart son of a bitch, and nobody's even taking that into account. They're, oh, he doesn't have what it takes to win. I'm like, maybe he does, and he just is smart enough not to, because self-preservation's a son of a bitch, right? And those second place checks aren't that bad either. Seconds and third place checks, they add up too, and he may be playing the long game. I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a dumb person, when you talk to him. So I don't know where he's going to end up, but I just kind of wonder if there's a little craftiness going on out of our little Frenchman over there.
Yeah, whatever happens, moving to that 450 class is absolutely brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd delay going there as long as I could. You know.
Yeah, bloody oath, mate. Now onto the 450 class as well, mate, to close this one off. The Chase Sexton Cooper Webb battle rolls on. Obviously, Sexton had the lines dialed, the edge and speed, the whoops were just exceptional. People were saying on the broadcast, yeah, point 0.6 of a second each lap. He was just absolutely ripping there. But yeah, the highs and the lows of the season of Sexton continue, mate. But more highs than lows, no doubt. But yeah, he's got a huge confidence boost. He's got the mental edge now, I guess, a little bit. He did the gun to Webb the other week, so he's feeling confident. A little bit dangerous to poke the bear like that, but he's got the momentum, managed the race well. There was no dramas. Really flexed his muscles, mate. So I guess the last 2 rounds he'll probably have the edge, but this weekend it could be the decider with a bit of weather on the way. See what Cooper Webb will be really chomping at the bit to get those points back, won't he, mate? So it should be fascinating this weekend, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely the 450 class have now commanded everybody's attention pretty hardcore. It was kind of, the 250s were the showstopper at the beginning of the season, but now everybody's kind of going, okay, we're down to 3 rounds, and if Chase wins them out, he's champ, and all Cooper's got to do is hang on, and Coop did not like not winning last weekend. He was frustrated after the race, after the podium and everything. He went out with Rooster and one of the other guys from Star and was walking the whoops looking at it. And I didn't hear exactly what they said, but I can read hand gestures, and there was a whole lot of WTF going on. Like, if I wish there was a way to really, you can't get a good contrast on those whoops and shoot it on video to show how gnarly they were, but it was insane that Chase was blitzing those. The second to the last whoop on the first section of whoops, there wasn't a whoop. It was ruts, very tall ruts with a big gap in front and behind him. It was insane, dude. It's like he must have just been blowing the tops off of these little spines every time he went over. He was just picking a 3 inch wide piece of dirt shaped in the like a whoop, and he'd hit it and obliterate it, and then move over to the next one. He was surgical on that or something, but it was mind blowing. I don't know why that one whoop was destroyed and the other ones weren't, but that one was just, it looked like a comb, like somebody stuck a comb up straight in the air, and you went between the blades of the comb, or you hit the blades. It was one or the other. Yeah, it was. I'd never seen anything like it in the what a 25 Supercross races I've shot. It was pretty gnarly. I'm like, whoa, that's a trip. So Chase is definitely on one. Somebody, I forget who, I think it was Matty B, was saying, oh, he gave him the finger guns. He should have came up with his own one. And I was like, I kind of like that he gave him the finger guns back. Like Coop gave him the finger guns and then he gave it back to him. Like, oh yeah, watch this, some bitch. Waited for. I like how he waited, and then he came over and gave him he finger banged him, and uh, but he didn't do it to him this weekend. And what trips me out is how fit that dude is. He took his helmet off and he was barely sweating, dude. His hair was still kind of dry. Coop takes his helmet off and you could see where his goggles were sucked up to his glasses. Like it was like three different menu options. You had barely winded, pretty well beat down and dehydrated, and then AP gets off and he's like, "Whoo! I didn't know who was riding outdoors," and he's just sweating like a whore in church, just looking disgusting, dude. He's just yeah, like don't touch me, AP. He's just gross, dude. He's just a sweater, dude. That guy would sweat in the Arctic at 30 below, and he just gets off and he's just snot everywhere. Gotta love the guy, but he's just so gross when he gets off the bike, and and he's hilarious. He was like wobbling around. I'm like, I kind of staying close to him. I thought he was gonna fall over, and the only one from KTM right there was the kind of PR lady, and she's not gonna catch him. And he pummel her if he fell on her. So I was kind of staying right there until the KTM guys got over, and then he's just like, I didn't know we were riding outdoors. Just it's so goddamn funny. And then he's like, "Woo," and then he caught his breath, and it was good to go. But I was so stoked to see that he got the podium again, and it was at the expense of Bam Bam. And man, I hope Bam Bam's all right because he was riding so freaking good all day.
Mm.
All day, sorry, but he looked so good, and then just ate shit after those whoops. But he did have that Alpine Stars vest on, and he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he got up. Man, that thing was fully blowed up.
Yeah, there was plenty of action, wasn't there, mate? And AP's on what, four podiums in the last five races, so on a good stretch, including a win in there, mate. So he's probably the only one that can take points off either of Webb and Sexton at this point, it looks like. And a lot of guys at this point are just going to get out of the way a bit and let them fight it out, aren't they, really? That's where the chase is on. So it'll be interesting to see how that plans out. And lastly, mate, Pittsburgh track, weather insights, what do you got for us? It's looking like it could be a bit of a nasty one, but yeah. Any picks, anything, mate? Anything you want to talk about? Whiskey Throttle, the crew, and you're all doing a ripper job over there, mate. So yeah, final thoughts. What do you got for me?
Pittsburgh, I hope it stays dry. Enough for the weather, but if not, I don't know. I've got no predictions at this point. I'm along for a ride, and I'm a fan with the best seat in the house and a camera in my hand. That's where I'm at. I'm right there with all of you. I'm just going to try to catch the coolest videos I can for everybody. And the shitty thing for me is I don't see it real time. I know the results, but I don't watch the race until I haven't even seen the last two weekends races. I haven't gone back and watched them. I have not had the time. But it's going to be so nice to sit down. I'll probably tonight sit down and go watch the mains from the last couple weekends because I haven't seen it. But I'm just going into a mindset as a fan. I'm going to go scope the track out on Friday. I'm going to get there a little later. I'm going to go look at it. Just kind of go, okay, I'm going to shoot here, 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 and here. Get my thoughts on where I'm going to get good lines, and just be a fan, and just be a fan with a camera, and try not to get myself killed or my ass chewed again. And then what else were we saying? Oh yeah, Whiskey Throttle. Our guy Nate is moving on. He's decided to go back to school, or he's doing something. But so I want to say thanks to Nate for the last year and a half at Whiskey Throttle. Been a royal pain in my ass and giving me a couple gray hairs, but he's taught me a lot and been fun as hell to be around. And he's put up with me being an absolute grumpy prick. So thank you to Nathan for all the time here. And we got a new victim, I mean, filmer by the name of Ethan. He's a cool kid from the high desert. Pretty funny. He's got a sharp wit on him, and he likes to talk shit back. So I'm gonna get along great with him, and I can't wait to get him broken in and get him to the races and get him filming because he's got a really cool style, and I think you guys will like. You'll see a change in the YouTube videos. When you get a different filmer, you'll get a different vibe. So you will see a little bit of difference in there. Not that it's any better, but there's going to be some different stuff, and I dig his vibe. So some cool things coming up for the summer with Whiskey Throttle, and like I said, we got the golf tournament, and I'm going to enjoy taking some time off this summer, and I think I'm only going to do 6 or 7 of the 11 rounds, and let him go to the other ones and go hang out with my wife. So that's what I've got planned this week is making all that happen.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Cheers again for taking the time to do these, and we'll keep them going through outdoors as well. Final rounds of Supercross. So all the best with everything, mate, and to the crew over there. And massive shout out to the sponsors for this one in Fly Racing, Dirt Store, Fuchs Silkaline, and Dragon Energy for all their support. As without them, it's not possible. So cheers again, Jeff, mate. Been another ripper chat, and we look forward to catching up again after next weekend's race.
Yeah, buddy, we'll talk to you soon.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.